exciting. Incredible.
Hello my friends, I'm Kyle Thompson. This is Research Flat Earth. And as always, welcome back.
So here we are, September 22nd, 2016. This is my fall equinox. So at the Google search, I did Austin fall equinox. I'm going to go to timeanddate.com again. I'm going to scroll down here. And you'll see the September equinox is September 22nd, 9:21 a.m. here in Austin. So I want to show you what timeanddate.com has to say as far as what I'm supposed to expect to see for a sunrise angle and sunrise sunset here in Austin. I'll scroll down here. Here we are at the 22nd. And the sun was supposed to rise at 89 degrees at 7:20 a.m. And it's supposed to set at 270 degrees, 7:27 p.m. You can see the 23rd looks like a little better equinox with it rising 90 degrees, setting 270, but it said that the 22nd is the equinox for me. The footage I shot this morning of the sunrise on the equinox was shot right from this location. Now this is Google Maps Street View. I have it set up so that we're pointing right at the direction. You'll see in just a second that the sun rose right here. Okay, so notice these three electrical towers. We got the big one here and then going off in the distance like this. You'll see that in just a second. Now I just want to show you Google Earth. I've got some pins located on here, the filming location. This is from the street view. This is where I was sitting when I was filming the sunrise this morning. And then from the Google Street View, these were the two smaller electrical poles, and then this is the larger electrical pole that's off in the distance. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull out the ruler, and I'm going to extend a line from the filming location just off to the right side of that smaller electrical pole. Now I'm out at the distance of that large electrical pole. You'll see that the footage that I shot is just like this. This gives a heading of 93.32 degrees and a distance of 1.26 miles out to those large electrical poles. So the way I recorded this morning was as I set a compass on top of my Nikon P900. I used my phone to record the angle that the sun was coming up, but at the same time I had the P900 recording the sunrise as well. Now I did come up with a little bit of a discrepancy as far as the angle that the sun came up, but you're going to see in just a little bit that it's what the P900 that captured that's going to give us definitive proof that we're in a simulation. So here we are back at Google researching distance to the horizon. And you can see that the official answer is for an observer on the ground with eye level at height 5'7". The horizon is at a distance of 2.9 miles. For an observer standing on a hill or tower 100 feet in height, the horizon is at a distance of 12.2 miles. We're going to go down here to this calculator. You know, it says this is a rough guide, and that's all we need right now. My camera was on a tripod. It was on the back of my truck. So I'm going to say that we were 9 feet high above the ground, right? So the calculated distance to the horizon is 3.7 miles. It's not a big deal. I'm going to show you something else. Another thing that we need to consider is visibility. So we're back here at Google doing a little research. We've got visibility distance in here. This first answer is about the horizon. The second one, visibility, Wikipedia. We want to check this out. Now you can read this all yourself, but it's a meteorological term. There's definitions for it. There's calculations for how it's decided. You can see that they have specific definitions. For visibility less than a certain amount, it's considered fog, or less than this, it's mist, or less than that, it's haze. So visibility is something that we can actually check out on our different weather sites. Let's check it out. So here we are at Weather Underground, and they do show what the visibility is, and it's 10 miles. All right, we've got clouds, a few scattered at 4,800 feet, scattered clouds at 7,000 feet. Look at visibility here. The greatest distance toward the horizon at which prominent objects can be identified with the naked eye. All right, so we are limited in our visibility. This is very important to consider. So as you're watching this, I want you to consider the things that we just touched on. Visibility is 10 miles. Distance to the horizon at 9 feet, 3.7 miles. Those electrical towers, 1.26 miles. How far are those clouds from me while I'm filming? I mean, they're not more than 10 miles, right? Well, watch this. Let's watch as the sun penetrates this layer of clouds right above it. You might be thinking to yourself, oh no, it's not going to go through that next layer too, is it? Oh yeah. Yeah, it's going to come out of the first layer. It's going to go through the second layer too. So this isn't the first time I've filmed the sunrise up through the clouds like that. I have this video Flat Earth Sunrise compilation in St. Martin with clouds and birds behind the sun, where I captured as well. I published this May 4th of this year, and you just take a peek here. It's the same type of thing where the sun came right up through the clouds. It's incredible. I've got a number of these sunrises like this. The only thing is I didn't understand it back then like I do now. So we'll draw those connections. So to make the connections, I want to bring you back to Google Earth here. This is the map that we're using before as far as the way I was shooting this video. You can see that north was set to the west here. We're going to spin that back up to the north. And we're going to zoom out a bunch. And now we're going to pull out our ruler. I'm just going to show you that from that filming location, we're at like around there so here's 13 miles. Visibility is 10. So I can't see that far. It's impossible. How far were those clouds? They were definitely less than 13 miles. My camera can't see that far. Okay, so where did the sun come from? Somewhere in here the sun rose. It came up like a hot air balloon through the clouds. It didn't come up over the horizon. I mean, take a look at this. Where did the sun come from? I can't see out here. You think it rose in Houston? I can't see that far. No, it came up probably about 10 miles away from me, somewhere out in this range. It came through the clouds. It's going to take 12 hours to go over my head, and 10 miles over here, it's going to disappear again. Think about that. It's a simulation. From wherever you are out here, it's going to come up 10 miles to one side of you. It's going to take its 12-hour trip or whatever, and then it's going to go down 10 miles on the other side. And this depends on visibility, but that's how it's working. You know, I continue to pray fervently to the Creator of this world to reveal the truth. And when I started making this video series, The Definitive Proofs, I knew that I had evidence that we're not on a ball and that flat earth maps don't work, but I was going to have to connect lots and lots of dots for the definitive proof that we're in a simulation. But now today, when I went out to film the equinox, the clouds were absolutely perfect to show me that the sun was coming up locally, very close to me, specific to my location. And I had photographic proof. This is something that everybody can do. You can do it. You just need a long range, telephoto lens, telescope, get whatever equipment you want, and start filming sunrises and sunsets and analyzing them. And if you continue to pray and ask the Creator for the truth, you'll get a situation where the clouds are lined up right, or something shows up when you're recording, that it'll show you that it's local and it's close. So I'm going to continue to put out videos in this series. I've got all the rest of the footage, I condensed it so that this video wouldn't be too long. I'll put all the footage together at regular speed in a video and put it up so everybody can take a look at it and analyze it, and I recommend that you go out and do your own. Till next time.
Newton found that the force of attraction between two objects, atoms or stars, is directly proportional to the product of their mass and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between their centers. So we're only interested in distances here. So if you have two objects that are this far apart, and they're going to feel a certain amount of tug. But if you move them double apart, you're not going to feel 1/2 the tug, you're going to feel 1/4 the tug. And should you move in half the distance, you're not going to feel twice the tug, but 4 times the tug. Inverse square, right? Got it? So, by figuring out how fast you're accelerating, and if you know your masses, you can tell how far you are away from the object. Now, that's the inverse square law. So, let's say the Earth were a hockey puck, this shape. Well, that would mean that, let's say it's 4,000 miles to the inside. If you were way out here, you'd feel the force of attraction 1/4. And if you were somehow halfway inside, you'd feel it 4 times. Well, out here on the edge, you would feel the normal acceleration. But on top here, this is halfway in. You'd feel 4 times the acceleration as well. If you're out on a corner here and you drop it, it's not going to fall straight down. It's going to fall at an angle towards the center. Anywhere here is now at an angle towards the center. So, when you're talking about a spherical planet, people are betting that everywhere it's the same 9.8 meters per second everybody feels. So we're all the same distance away from the center. And that anything that falls goes 90 degrees straight down. So it's as easy to prove a non-spherical or a flat Earth by simply finding one spot on the planet where the acceleration is not 9.8 meters per second about, and where things don't fall at 90 degrees. And you win.
Okay, then let's have a look at this hypercube model that I recently got, and I'm now going to dissect it. We are going to talk a little bit about these truncated pyramids, or these fractals or fragments of one 4D hypercube. So essentially, we are more focusing on 4D hypercube today in this little freestyle on this stuff. But anyway, so in one 4D hypercube, we have 6 of these fragments or fractals, which are each one realm, just like this reality-based system or duality-based system that we are now perceiving ourselves in still. And one of these is just like the flat earth, basically, because as you already learned, the flat earth is actually perpetuated within a truncated pyramid, yeah, a trapezoid-like realm, geometry-wise. And one of these flat earth realms or duality or reality-based systems that are located within such a truncated pyramid here is only one fragment or one aspect of one 4D hypercube. So all these other trapezoids here are also most likely or almost definitely the same earth realm, basically, yeah. And these are like parallel versions thereof. And we are going to learn a little bit later when I put it together how this works and why it is very sensible or probable that these are actually really parallel Earth systems within one hypercube. But anyway, we're still here. So, let's do this here. I did this in the German version as well. So when we look at this here, this setup, we see a cross, right? So, as you already can conceive, what I'm going to tell you now is that basically the Roman Catholic Church, they co-opted this hypercube model, dissected when you put it, when you split it in these 6 fragments. So they based this cross on something very fundamental, but it's not what Christians, for instance, think as fundamental thereof. It's rather dealing with the general geometric setup of the whole Earth, okay? So they co-opted this cross symbol for their agendas and religious mind control, but they derived it, actually, or distilled it from the actual environment wherein everything is transpiring, actually. So this is very funny. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit about this Earth realm. Let's focus on one of these fractals here, on one realm. Yeah. So I have this laser pointer. Now let's talk a little bit about the rooftop, which is obviously flat, just as observed in reality. And as we also already know, the sun is moving from east to west. Let's conceive this as north, south, east, and west. And the sun is moving from east to west, dragged along by magnetic lines of force. Yeah. So, and we have this equator line, then we have the northern tropic, and we have the southern tropic. With the left hand, it's a little bit shaky, but I think it works. Anyway, so the sun is moving throughout the year in quotation marks from north to south. Yeah. It's always going from east to west, rinse and repeat every day, day in, day out, always, okay? Because it's just the fucking magnetic model that is applied here, okay? So, anyway, the sun is moving from east to west, dragged along by magnetic lines and force, and we already got aware, or many are aware of reportings or sightings, that the sun has been observed north of the northern tropic. So, we wouldn't expect that. Normally this should be impossible, actually, yeah, but it is frequently reported. So how can this work? Well, actually, the sunlight itself is a reflection anyway, naturally, yeah, and we have these magnetic boundaries, yeah, these walls here, these magnetic walls, and the sunlight is actually also reflecting off of this, in this case, northern wall, okay? And therefore, people see the reflection that is coming off this northern magnetic wall, and then they see the sun. But it's a reflection of this boundary, this northern boundary, because these walls or these confinements are of magnetic nature. These are magnetic walls, like reported on also in many ancient cosmologies when they speak of mountains and stuff like that. These are these walls, magnetic walls or boundaries, confinements. And the sunlight is reflecting off of, for instance, of this rooftop, and thereby it becomes visible to us in the first place, because if light doesn't reflect off of something, you wouldn't be able to see it at all, because it's an instantaneous event. And so anyway, the light is reflecting off of these boundaries and the rooftop. Of course, it also reflects off the atmospheric density or layers, no question about that. But initially it becomes visible by reflecting off of this rooftop. And also when it reflects off of these boundaries, then maybe also in the south, maybe someone could observe that the sun is spotted more south than it should be residing or whatever. So okay, anyway, so this is magnetic models from east to west, because it's 4D structure, geometric support structure, wherein these realms are perpetuated, and all of these realms are single earth parallel systems. And I think I'm now going to put the hypercube together, because then I can go on with the stuff. And so give us a little break here. Okay, here we are again with the now complete hypercube. But before I forget that, let's talk a little bit about the diamond, because I totally missed this in the first video. So actually this diamond here, this is absolutely the ground base of this realm. Yeah, it's a tilted square essentially, and the ground floor of a pyramid, because this whole thing is actually a pyramid, only it is kept at the top. So these realms, as we just have displayed. But anyway, so we have the diamond, and actually it's funny that this blue blue avians, but anyway, so the diamond is absolutely the model that you should look into when you want to make detail work. So go to Flat Earth Conspiracy Channel and One Valiki, they have this stuff completely figured out. So anyway, now we have this hypercube here. Yeah, now these 6 fragments or fractals are combined or converged. And so where's the laser pointer? Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this red cube here in the middle, because this is where all the basically the apexes of all these 6 fragments are converging and meeting again, if you like. And in the center thereof there is the sun, that it's rotating due to toroidal acceleration, and it's doing its rotation, and thereby it's also instantaneously emitting its light, and this light is then reflected into all of these 6 fractals or fragments within this hypercube, into all these realms, like from a prism, it's reflected into these realms here. Yeah, and you can see this here with these nice effects with the laser. It's actually a little bit here refracting or whatever. But the light comes from within the black hole, and it's then reflected into these fractals and these truncated pyramids or trapezoids. And when we go into this black hole here, then we enter these dimensional realms or environments like shown in Interstellar. When he's entering the black hole, he's entering another dimensional setup, which is located in a different geometric support structure that is also perpetuated within a toroid, because of course this 4D hypercube is also perpetuated within a toroid as always, and the toroid is within another support structure which is also perpetuated within a toroid, and so forth. But anyway, we are still with the 4D hypercube. So we have this black hole, the light is then reflected into all of these 6 fragments, and then it is there dragged along by magnetic lines of force, and they can observe the sunlight and anything else moving from east to west, whatever. Yeah. But when you are in this black hole, then you have the oversight over all of these fragments, all of these parallel reality-based systems or reality-based systems that are each located within such a fractal or fragment in one of these truncated pyramids in this case. Yeah. So you have the complete oversight over all of them, and this is also why it is so probable that these are all parallel systems of the same Earth. Because when you are in this black hole and you have this oversight over all these parallel existences and timelines, basically it's all about timelines again. Yeah, these are also timelines. Every one of these single dimensional cubes, or however we want to call them, where you can look into when you are in this state of consciousness, or on this frequency, or on this environment in the end, ultimately in the environment, where you can observe all of these parallel systems. We also upload a video, this infinitesimallography video. There you can see this displayed thanks to the interstellar bonus material. This is very mind-blowing, but also very advanced stuff. But anyway, so you have all these parallel realms, yeah, which you can observe, and these are entailed within this black hole in this new setup. But anyway, let's do this here. So imagine you have this cube here, yeah, and actually there's no movement, okay? What is happening is that your consciousness, the only thing that is moving essentially is your consciousness, but this cube here, yeah, imagine now that there's another cube here, another one here, and so forth ad infinitum. So cube, and everywhere cubes. Behind this cube there are cubes, and here aside of it there were cubes, adjacent cubes everywhere. Yeah, just imagine that there were cubes everywhere. Yeah, so let's focus on this one here, because we are now going through these cubes, and this is your consciousness here. It is moving through all of these cubes, and every of this cube, like this one here, these infinite cubes that you are basically projecting. It's a projection. You are projecting your consciousness through all these cubes, and thereby the dreamed up movement takes place. It is basically like a film reel, yeah, when you have all these pictures on the film reel, and when you then project light onto this film, you end up on a projection screen with moving pictures. And this is basically the same principle of what is transpiring here, with when your consciousness is moving through all these cubes that are lined up or are adjoined side by side. All these 4D hypercubes are adjacent side by side, and you are moving through them, and every single cube is one single moment, now moment, okay? Because it's a hologram, it's holographic, and it's infinite holographic, and therefore it's no problem. They are also repeating within themselves, but this is then another dimensional setup, and this is a higher dimensional geometric support structure. So we stay with this here, and this is really, it's like a film. So again, it's like a film reel, and your consciousness is the light that is projected onto this film reel, and then all these holographic or super holographic environments and images and figures and everything comes to fruition. So your body and your environment is all holographic, super holographic, and it's consciousness moving endlessly through these cubes, these adjoined holographic super hologram cubes or super hologram cubes. Fuck shit. But anyway, so and within this cube there's a black hole, and these are the dielectric inertial plates, yeah, and within them the information is stored, and the light that is coming from within the black hole is projected through this dielectric inertial plate, and thereby the holograms or the holographic environment is created, or the holograms are created and generated. Yeah, and this is how everything comes to pass, which you are observing, which you are interacting with, and what have you. So you are living inside such a 4D hypercube, which itself is perpetuated within this octagonal hypercube, this prior Earth universe hologram construct. It's octagonal, and therein we have these 4D hypercubes, and they are the support structure for these 3D realms, these 3D truncated pyramid trapezoid-like realms with a flat surface and a flat rooftop, and you have a certain angle which is also playing a role in the observation of the sky, the luminaries and all this stuff. 23.5 or whatever. Go to the Flat Earth Conspiracy channel, One Waliki, they figured all this stuff out already, and yeah, so I think this is it. So this is where you live in here, in this cube, in one of these truncated pyramids here. It's flat, it's fucking flat. yeah, and the rooftop is flat and anything, and here's a black hole, and there was the sun and all this other stuff. But we are going to do more research on this, how this actually works, what rotation takes place therein, because what we see actually in the sky, like these plasma moon and sun and all the plasma luminaries, they're really looking like this, but their light comes from beyond the black hole, yeah, and it's hard to describe, but it's then channeled or converted into this realm, and then it's reflecting off of this, and then we can see it and record it and all this stuff. So anyway, this is it for this presentation. All unconditional love, all peace, all blessings.
Amazing work. A lot of cross-reference, and even though he's a really small channel, there's dedicated trolls for his channel. So I think everybody could check it out. Here's what it looks like. If you're trying to go from Apia to Pago Pago, which is, let me show you on what it looks like. It's right in the middle of the Pacific, and as you can see here, it's where there's the weird intersection of the time zone. And whenever someone tries to fly from Apia to Pago Pago, something really, really weird happened. Let me show you. So let's go back. So there's only 2 flights available, each over 5 grand, 34 hours for 70-kilometer stretch. So check this out. In order to go from Apia to Pago Pago, they need to go to Nadi, and then to go to Sydney, and then to Honolulu, and then from Honolulu to Pago Pago. Makes total sense, right? You know, just take a 5,000-kilometer detour to get from point A to point B, which is supposed to be about 70 miles. So go check this guy. Go check Propaganda Destroyers. He did a lot of cross-reference. He looked at a weather map. Go check his channel. Amazing stuff. And have fun trying to explain to me why someone needs to take a 5,000 mile detour to go across a little bit of water. And yes, just for the trolls to know already, I already did my check to go from Pago Pago to Apia, and there's so-called island flights, but you can't know what a flight cost or anything before you enter a full page of information. You cannot have how much time it's gonna take or anything like that before you fill out a huge form application and pay. So I might just take that flight one day just for fun to just confirm, because this is just
Hey, Chubbs here again, back with a quick video. I've been doing a bit of an experiment in 3D software, just trying to figure out how perspective works, particularly the perspective of the sun and the moon, and trying to find out myself if the flat earth model actually works. I'll also be comparing it with the globe earth model to see which works best. It seems like a pretty big stretch that the moon is setting, or the sun is setting below the horizon due to perspective. Like, if that was the case, the moon and the sun would have to get minute compared to the size we usually see it up in the sky, because it's such a long way away from us. And then they say that it just disappears and goes behind the horizon. And yeah, it seems like a bit of a stretch, but I think I've devised a 3D model which can help us see if this is possible. Okay, here's a top-down view of the scene that I've made. What you're seeing here is a camera placed just on the shore of a little bay. You can call this a hill up here or whatever. Not a very high one, but I just put it there to make some sort of a horizon, like a false horizon. Now that's a target camera, so I put the target right below where the moon is here. The target stays still, but the moon moves on a straight trajectory, as you can see, basically above the viewer's head. When I zoom down to the level of sight for the camera, our guy on the shore, it looks like a real scene. So here it is rendered. Let's have a look at this animation. It looks a bit far-fetched. Surely the moon doesn't get that small in the sky. So let's see if we can find some real footage to compare that to. I've made another model in 3D software of the globe model. This time there's a camera just on the surface of the Earth, and we're just looking at the sun rising over the horizon and going out of view of the camera. Obviously the sun doesn't change in size to any perceptible degree in the sky, as being 93 million miles away and 1 million miles wide, and the Earth only about 6,000 miles wide. The Earth turning does not make a difference. It only moves the viewer a maximum of 3,000 miles closer to the sun. During the daytime, that is, where the sun is actually visible in the sky. So let's see if we can find some real footage to compare that to. I wasn't expecting to see that. Let's compare it to my 3D model, side to side. Wow, so after seeing that, it seems pretty obvious which model reality actually fits best. And it's not the globe model we've been taught for 500 years, and wow, all our lives. Man, we've been sucked in.
If I say that the world is round and someone else says it's flat, that's worth reporting. But you might also want to report on a bunch of scientific evidence that seems to support the notion that the world is round.
We're trying to move towards the future. They want to be stuck in the past. And we've heard this kind of thinking before. Let me tell you something. If some of these folks were around when Columbus set sail, they must have been founding members of the Flat Earth Society. They would not have believed that the world was round. Patience for anyone who denies that this challenge is real. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
The president is isolated in his beliefs here because he's got virtually no support on Capitol Hill on this statement, Jake.
It's amazing to watch the White House continue to argue that the earth is flat. Jeff Zeleny, Manu Raj.
My friends, these people are so out of touch with science. You A seven-nation army couldn't hold me back. They're gonna rip it off, taking their time right behind my back. And I'm talking to myself at night, 'cause I can't forget. Back and forth through my mind behind a cigarette, and the message coming from my eyes says, leave it alone. Leave it Don't wanna hear about it. Every single one's got their story to tell. Everyone knows about it, from the Queen of England to the House of Hell. And if I catch you coming back my way, I'm gonna sell it to you. And that ain't what you wanna hear, but that's what I'll do. And the message coming from my bones is find a find a home. I'm going to Wichita, far from this opera forevermore. I'm gonna work the straw, make the sweat drip out of every pore. And I'm bleeding, and I'm bleeding, and I'm bleeding right before the Lord. All the words are gonna bleed from me, and I will sing no more. And the stains coming from my blood tell me go back home. Go back Go back home. Leave it alone.
Not only does refraction bend the image downward, it also magnifies it. I'm going to say that again. Water causes refraction, bending the image downward, and magnifies it. So this is important now. So now back to another clip from that previous video. Let's entertain for a moment the completely absurd notion that water is flat and it always seeks its own level. We're looking across a flat plane of water, 46 miles across. Check this image out right here. Now I caught this image shortly after Rick and I returned from our trip across the lake. We grabbed a bite to eat, and then we went out to the beach, and it was still clear out, so we got the camera out and looked 46 miles across the lake to see this right here. This image is extraordinary. Okay, the boat right here, I'm going to guess, is less than a mile away. And I base that because these people walking in front of the camera here are walking across some rocks that sort of jut out and kind of fence in the harbor area. And they are only about a quarter of a mile away from where we were when I shot this. I shot this image from right about here. This is where we were looking across, and this is the area right here where those people were walking. And the boat, as you could tell by the size of the people on the boat, wasn't too much further beyond that. So maybe a half mile to a mile, or at the most, I would say, away from where we were. All right, now when I was headed back to Chicago to catch my flight, I snapped this picture of the Willis Tower. And this is, if you go on Google Earth, this is right about the area right here where I believe I was when I took that picture. Looking across, it's only about 0.6 of a mile. So I'm just a little over a half mile away, and look at the size of the tower as compared to the car that was diagonally in front of me. We were looking at the Willis Tower from this direction right here when we were on the other side of the lake. Now, okay, so let me slide the car over and shrink it down to the appropriate scale beside the boat. Do you see something rather interesting here? This building is significantly magnified. The image on the left shows the size and scale of the building next to a car at 0.6 of a mile away. The image on the right shows the same building and the same car with a boat at 46 miles away. The atmosphere really is acting like a lens. What type of lens? A convex lens or a magnifying glass. And let's just go back and hear from the experts once again what's happening with the atmosphere.
The science is the same of that of a lens. Here's a simple example.
So if you're looking at Chicago here, just maybe now you can just see the top of the Sears Tower, and if our simulated temperature inversion moves into place, hopefully now you can see pretty much all of Chicago,
see all the lower buildings,
including what's at ground level.
So the atmosphere really is acting like a lens.
Yes.
Again, based on that imagery that I saw looking 46 miles across versus 0.6 miles across, I really do believe, just like the experts said, the globalist guys, these are people who believe in the globe now. They are the ones that said, hey, the atmosphere really is acting like a lens, and they put a lens in front of the camera to show how it works. So I'm just doing what they're doing. I'm using the same logic that they're using, the same science that they're using. And, science is all about testable, observable, and repeatable data, right? So to alleviate the problem of distorting the edges because the magnifying glass ring is too small, I went on Amazon and I got these plastic magnifying sheets and came up with another way of doing the same thing using the sheet right here. Set the city up, a little cutout of the city, and now I've got the big magnifying glass sheet. Bring the camera right up to the lens. See, that's the normal view of the city. Now let's back up again.
The science is the same of that of a lens. Here's a simple example.
So if you're looking at Chicago here,
the atmosphere really is acting like a lens.
Yes.
Atmosphere really is acting like a lens, and this is how much of the city is missing due to the lensing effect, the magnification of the atmosphere. You're missing a good portion of the city just by pulling my iPhone back on a 3-foot long desk. That's how much I lost of the city. And as with any scientific experiment, you always try to improve upon what you did before. So I got some foam core, made a little housing for the magnifying sheet, and pasted the city on the back there, and I made it as 2 separate pieces so that I could flex it as necessary, because I think that there are different types of atmospheric conditions that would allow for more magnification versus less magnification. So in this scenario you have more magnification, and in this one you have less. And for this one I decided to put the Toronto skyline into my little box here. And let's try it again. Okay, we're all the way up against the glass. Now let's zoom across the lake. And wow, look at that. The lower portions start to disappear. Now let's zoom back in to get a little closer to the one that Captain Baltard was talking about here. And wow, look at this. Here's his image on the right, and here's my image on the left. Missing the lower portions of the city had nothing to do with curvature whatsoever. And this, of course, is my answer to the meme that you've all seen being passed around on Facebook showing the missing part of buildings is absolute proof of the curve. No, not really.
Make your own shirts. Create signs, whatever it takes, you know, get out front of NASA. I still don't understand why I haven't seen a video posted here on YouTube of a bunch of people trying to get out in front of NASA and put some pressure on them. I don't even see that. You know, like handing back their globes and piling up about 10,000 globes on their lawns and here's your globe back. We don't believe it. You haven't proved it. We don't see 24-hour live footage of the Earth spinning in real time with the clouds moving. Time's up. Too much evidence pointing to the fact that we're not a spinning ball. Okay? So with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see everyone in the next video.
Who am I? I'm the unsilent majority, Big Mouth. Good. The unsilent majority. The unsilent majority. Who am I? I'm the unsilent majority, Big Mouth. Good. The unsilent majority. Who am I? I'm the unsilent majority, Big Mouth. Good. The unsilent majority.
If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you haven't subscribed, hit the red subscribe button. Also click on the little bell icon to get notifications of my Flat Earth videos, which I upload every day.
Saliva